Welcome to part 2 of this week's Browser Games of the Week. And I'm your host, Steven Snakeuka Lindsay. And I know this was supposed to be up yesterday, but I got behind, and yeah, so that means our news broadcast won't be today like usual, it's going to be tomorrow, so I'm sorry. Warning, this is one of those artsy games with a deeper meaning that some people may not get or, well, rarely even care about. In the game, you control a purple comet that seems all alone at the beginning, but soon enough, you'll come across an orange comet. It begins to mimic your moves after a while, or it'll follow close behind you or in front of you. You can ram into it, but that appears to have no impact at all. Let's just say, the ending can get to you if you get involved with the game. Shoot anything that moves and survive as long as you can. Simple enough, no need to explain anymore, right? Okay, there's more I can say about it. You are a guy trapped in a tomb who has survived, well, as long as you can make him survive against the horde of monsters coming his way. With each monster you kill, you can collect these little white things that I maybe think are worms that will go towards upgrading your weapons, or you can let them gather in the middle, which will give you a life when it gets to enough. When enemies hit you, you lose a life and every enemy on screen will explode. Also, you can also shoot only horizontally, which can be quite annoying at times, but you'll get over it soon enough. Puzzle-based combat games that make me think of Puzzle Quest. For years, your kingdom has been keeping the enemy at bay, but now you have decided to take the offensive and to push them back. You do so by matching colored blocks so that your 3 soldiers can stay healed, so that they can perform special moves, and so you can put guardians on the walls to help them out. Call this a minor complaint, and likely this only applies for me, but I sometimes find it hard to find the different colored buildings. More so than I have in other games like this one. This game actually reminds me, kind of, sorta, I really don't know why, of Save Toshi. Perhaps as both involve throwing balls at objects, you can move the camera in a somewhat similar way, and they both have stars! Anyways, if you thought this game involved making up excuses to your teacher or defending against an invasion of monsters that want your homework, then obviously you're not seeing the video in front of you right now. Your goal is to knock off the monster blocks, but make sure your homework blocks stay on the board. Actually, I suppose this is somewhat more reminiscent of boom blocks than anything else. Going from monsters to zombies, as there always got to be at least one game in our videos involving zombies. Unlike most though, this isn't an actiony, shooty, typey gamey. It's actually a micromanaging game, which I'm kind of unsure if there's been one involving zombies. You must make sure that you have enough people on watch when the zombies attack, must scout surrounding buildings, kill the zombies in those areas, and then recapture them and build a building that you need. As well as that, you need to make sure to have enough supplies, enough housing, and that you're keeping the people happy. If you're lucky, maybe your town will survive. Though I gotta admit, I'm quite unsure about my town of Refluctistan and it being led by a person named Lucifer. I have bad feelings about that town. If you're a frequent fan of our browser game videos, then you know that I suck hard at these shmup games. Only those rare few do I make it considerably far in or don't die in the first level once, and this is one of those. See, in a couple of these shmup games, one hit equals instant death, and can result in you having to restart the level all the way from the start. I then become this person that starts freaking out with, so many bullets, gotta dodge, find the pattern, I got this, oh no, asteroid! But as you have a life bar, this isn't as much of a threat. I didn't play that much, only 2 levels into it, but the bosses seem, shall I say, lacking? First level, it was a flying saucer. Second level, it was a flying saucer with a different color and a different pattern. Oh, and asteroids. I'm not good at Minesweeper, and thus, I'm not quite that good at this game. Oh, and it's also another zombie game, so let's add it to this video's tally. You control a little girl who's caught in an area with zombies, mines that are ready to explode, in numbers that are luckily located around said mines to let you know where those mines are located. Yeah, it's like in real life. I think the look just sells it for me, plus the levels aren't that long, and the mine locations are randomly created. Yeah, okay, this game isn't complete yet, and it just randomly cuts off to tell you that the demo has ended. Come back again to get the full version sometime in the future. When I was getting into the game, and there's an invisible wall at one point, which I guess is an area you can only get in the full version, whenever that is. Anyways, you control a little boy who must go into the woods to find Blue Buzz. Soon enough, the world turns darkest and a black blob entity appears and you run away! But you gotta muster the courage and carry on till the demo ends. Your control over the character is based around a little blue orb that your boy follows. It can also get him to look up or down, which does have its uses in some locations. I also like that this orb is in the same plane as the boy. It adds some depth. You're a new captain of a ship and it's up to you to buy and sell goods. But probably more or less you'll be shooting other naval ships. Oh, and hope they don't get too much damage during those fights because it can cost quite a bit of money to get your ship fixed that you may or may not have. Also use the money to upgrade your ship or buy a new one. Truth be told, I have mixed feelings about this game, as it can be quite boring at times. And also, I didn't like the decision that at the very beginning of the game, you have a pretty good ship that you want to have, but you have to have it blown up to carry on with the game. That's right, you can win against tons of battles, but it won't ever end till you finally die, or your ship blows up. It's so pointless. There's no story to the game, so there's no real reason for it. Also, it breaks one of my cardinal sins. No pause button. Okay, it does pause the game whenever you click on a different program or go to a different tab, but then just ask, how hard is it to just have a regular pause button for in-game when you want to stay in the same tab and same window? You are Sierra 7, a new recruit for some special organization called Sierra that is meant to deal with terrorists and other threats. It's an on-rail first-person shooter, and each stage is at least varied. One, you're in a house taking out hostiles. Another, you have to eventually defuse a bomb. In another, you are sniping and have to take the wind conditions into consideration. After each level, you will likely get some new weapons for your loadout. There is also a few you can do which may or may not give you a new weapon. I didn't really complete any of them, so I don't know. On the downside though, it's another game with no pause button, and it would have been nice if Sierra could pop in and out of cover, which he does at one point in the final level, but why not the areas before? He's often behind cover anyways. Wait a minute! This game seems very similar to a game I recommended earlier this year. Hold on a moment, we gotta check this out. Here's Vector Rush. And here's Vectrix. Notice how similar they are, but Vectrix has some shooting elements and a few new obstacles. Now, this isn't a knockoff or a clone by someone trying to copy that game. It's by the same person. He just added a shooting element, added about 2 or 3 new obstacles, and gave it a new name. It's not completely lazy, but it kind of has a certain smell about it. But it's still worth a look if you haven't played Vector Rush. Then again, I still recommend that you play Vector Rush over this one. It's the last part of the Shift Heads game series, and the fit is sure hitting the shan. Just shortly after starting the game, Shorty is shot in the arm, and your new location is shortly thereafter overrun by thugs. Then after that, you got a hot wire car, which didn't seem to work that well for me. Oh, and I must say, the quick time events that were in the previous one seem to be much better done in this one. At least it's at the beginning of the game and not just randomly put in at one scene near the very end of the game. That I always screw up again. Then again, I didn't beat the game, so what do I know? Unlike some of the previous ones, The slight open world feel, buying guns, and the ability to choose what character you want to play as and what you want them to dress up as isn't in this one. Or if it is, it's in the last half of the game that I didn't play. If you don't read the instructions on how to play this game and never had played anything similar to it, you may be completely confused on what to do like I was when I first played it. What you're supposed to do is drag from one number to another, and they have to have the same amount of squares as the number they show. It's a little hard to explain, but once you get it down, the challenge becomes, am I connecting it the right way? See, on some numbers, there's multiple ways that you can connect these numbers. But luckily, it's easy to fix, and you can press a button to check to make sure that there are no errors. Just unfortunately, it doesn't seem to tell you where you went wrong, which would have helped a lot. It's not that hard, but it's fun to play. And now it's time for our classic browser game of the week pick. This is where we pick a classic browser game, one that we still like to play to this day. And our pick for this week is the Karoshi Series. I really don't know if I said that right. Recently it came out on the iOS, and that's the reason I decided to put it on this list. While some of the games out there are freeware and download only in this series, there are two that are released for Flash. In most games, the goal of the game is to not hit spikes and not to die. But in this game, it's reverse. You are a businessman who has been overworked and is now attempting to commit suicide. The puzzles in some of these levels can be quite interesting, such as in one you're supposed to stay completely still, or in another you're supposed to press restart to kill him. I love this series and constantly come back to it to kill Mr. Karoshi. And with that, this week's Browser Games of the Week list comes to an end. Now, if you don't know, each and every Sunday we're going to have a new video in this series. And also, I am planning on changing up our videos this Sunday so that they're shorter. So, look forward to it. Also, on every Wednesday, except for this week because I got behind, we'll have up our Gamer Station Indie Game News, which is where we'll tell you about all the news happening in the indie game world. And if you want to be up to date on all of this, simply subscribe to us. It only takes one click of that subscribe button. And also you'll be up to date on our reviews, previews, contests, giveaways, and whatever else we're doing.